Yeah, should we try to make another cup while the kids are playing?
Yep.
All right, I haven't tried these two batches, so I brought a couple along. If you want to smell them and choose what we should try to make.
Do you have a favorite?
These are probably both coffees I love. It's like I like both of them at darker or lighter roast. So there's kind of one of each.
Okay, I thought I would go with the darker roast.
Darker roast?
Nice.
Actually, what's your favorite outdoor
I've
coffee?
just done the percolator a lot.
Nice.
But also French press, just because
Yeah.
it sits there. But it's usually ends up sitting there a really long time.
Yeah. I actually love different roasts. No, I like different kinds of roasts at different times of day. Like I love to do the low temp or the lighter roast in the morning, and then the darker in the afternoon. I don't know if it's just smoother or
Is it like normal for you to not, you wait to grind until like right before you're gonna
Yeah.
and everything?
I think it makes everything is, I can like sit around for 15 minutes like if I get it ready and then heat up the water. But I kind of like this outdoor setup because it's the amount of water and the amount of beans. It's like boiling and grinding is almost the same. Otherwise, I find I'm like getting distracted and I'll leave one. So I'm like, I don't have enough water. I don't have enough hot water.
Yeah.
So whenever I actually think about t-shirt ideas more than I actually make a t-shirt. But I was thinking about the next t-shirt for Thinkwell should say, "Coffee is art." And I was thinking as the artist that you are, because I was curious, like what would that, if you read that, would it make any sense? Like from your view of art or
Yeah,
Yes.
I wouldn't think
Yeah.
it's weird though, because I've seen like shirts are interesting in that way too, because it can mean a lot, like, or it's like a band tee or.
Yep.
But I think the statement itself, I wouldn't even think twice about it, because
Like it would just like,
it makes sense. The whole process that we're doing right now, I don't know, it's just kind of, I just try to think about that replacing with other words, and if I would think it's really weird.
Sometimes the people I'm around in coffee, it feels like the shirt they would want to say, "Coffee is science." Like it's like they're getting really super technical, which is kind of fun to like just go down that rabbit trail. There we go. Sweet. Yeah, I feel like the tendency is to get it exactly right. Like do it exactly right. But that's kind of intimidating to me. Nice. We are boiling. Sweet. All right. Just gonna get it wet. And that's so fun. I actually love watching that part.
Bubbling.
Yeah. It's like, all right, we are close. Get your cup ready. So yeah, I feel like I'm around a lot of people that work in coffee, and it's all about like getting it exactly right, exactly the best.
I didn't
Sarah?
want to steer.
Aw, why not?
Sarah?
Sand.
Sand.
I have sand in my
I'm
mouth.
like, does she almost need a...
It's icky. Yeah, you got like a little rocky in there.
What's that in there?
That's coffee beans.
Yeah, those are the coffee
Make
beans.
the
This part I haven't thought of. I think we can almost just set this aside, like over there. All right. So if you like coffee hot though, it's like you gotta outside.
Well,
you just have to
it's
pour
like
it
that
right away.
You know, the first sip where you're like, if it's not
Yeah.
hot.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's super disappointing. Hey, do you want to pour it?
Yeah.
I like this funky handle. Like it's kind of a fun one.
It feels nice.
Okay. Well, even if it's just for a minute.
Yeah, that's great.
Happy coffee.
Happy coffee. It's nice and hot.
Mm-hmm.
Tastes great.
Yeah.
I also like no matter what mug I like attach to it, I'm like, this is my mug now.
Yes.
It's like a relationship while I'm
It's
drinking
like
it.
for the weekend, like while you're camping, it's like
Yeah, like this
is
isn't
the-
mine, but it
yeah,
feels like
yeah.
mine ever since you guys placed it.
I think that's even the part about coffee as art, how it makes sense to me is it's like it really depends on the moment. Like it's a little different than like, did I do this exactly right? And so I don't know how that connects. Like when you're creating art, can you look at it as like, hey, I'm getting this, I'm going to get it right? Or like, what's your take on?
Well, related to coffee,
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is process
Yep.
and ritual, because I have like kind of a formula throughout my whole creative process that I don't always stick to it, but I traditionally, it's like even just setting up the gear or getting into a space, like it's the
Yeah.
same, like you have to get your kind of equipment
Yep.
ready.
Yep.
And then your mentality that you're like doing this action that kind of leads into a natural openness, because then you can experiment. And I think that's cool because with roasting, that's part of the whole process. And I think if you're enjoying the whole process,
Yep.
like of creating, like when I'm writing a song, if I'm really enjoying just sitting down, lately with the kids, it's like so rushed. So I feel like it's more of like a blast of like, okay, I have like this small amount of ritual time of like, I'm sitting down with the guitar lately with a guitar rather than a loop pedal. But it's like kind of connecting with something, because it's not just, it's touch and smell. And I'm really affected by all those things in my creative process. And lately I've been trying to really invite people into those spaces who I've never worked with before. Or, yeah, it changes everything.
How does it separate itself from an ordinary moment for you? If you're like, okay, you kind of gone through the steps, you've done the ritual that you're like, I'm transitioning. And then whether you're there to collaborate with someone else, like what makes it a creative space for you?
I think the older I get, it's like nice to remind yourself that you're trying to have fun while doing it. It's easy to take it too seriously or like be too conscious of the process or like what you're not getting to. I used to have a lot of art jams where there's a bunch of mediums.
Yep.
It's so windy.
I know.
I think we need to take a second.
When you're in the moment where you're opening yourself up, like I'm kind of going on a tangent, but like with other individuals or a group, do you know in the moment, okay, we are making something? Or is it like you get to a point and then you're looking back and you're like, hey, we made something?
It's both.
Okay.
It's like simultaneous, I think, with that. But it's cool when you're kind of realizing you're liking the journey you're on.
Yeah.
I'm very, I think, aware of time sometimes because when I do a lot of improvised, it's live. So I'm also thinking about like the audience.
Yes.
And
you
how
you have the feedback. Like you have their feedback.
Yeah, you could feel like sometimes a wave of like they're in it, we're in it.
Yep.
It feels really good. So we're gonna ride.
Yeah.
We're gonna ride the momentum.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I'm with other musicians, it's like nicer to ride it longer, like the improvised sense of getting into the space. But then when I'm solo, I think I'm into this. And then sometimes I like look out and I'm like, I cannot tell if they are with me. And I think I like kind of like sometimes cut it short because I'm like, if half the room's not in it right now, I don't want them to like almost endure when I'm go, because improvise is kind of a risk. But I like that.
And you might find something like that you really, it's totally brand new.
Yeah.
But it's like, because I think that even actually that happens, like we have a roasting process. And you know, every step of coffee kind of like affects it and changes it, even like how we're brewing it and like, you know, what we did or didn't do. But you do have the feedback and people are like, whoa, I really liked that batch. What did you do with that? It's like that feedback response is like, hey, let's keep doing that. And then there's also, but it's so subjective because people like different things. It's like, I think we find that we're curious to be like, hey, there's different ways to roast this coffee. So like, let's keep going because someone else might be like, hey, what did you do with that batch? And that wasn't even what I was like really trying.
Yeah. Yeah. Coffee's art.
So that's why I would say coffee is art. But I think
is art.
other people would be like, I don't really think so. Or they're just, I think some people on the opposite side of coffee is like a science.
Yeah.
I think there's also the other people that would say coffee is coffee. It's just coffee. Like this is just coffee.
Those are people who are limited to imagination on what art is.
Yeah.
Like their definition of
one
art.
radio station. They do not ever like flip around. You know, it's like, this is what I like.
It's one genre.
Yep.
That's why you just really can't please everyone.
Yeah.
And I've worked at a lot of coffee shops, and definitely like my favorite thing, people would always be like, make me your favorite drink. And it's like, I will, but I'm not going to say you're going to like it. I witnessed this one elderly woman coming in a long time ago, and she was so excited about her cup and the process. And then she tried it, and she's like, this is the worst thing I've ever tasted. And it's like everybody else's like favorite. And it was like, I just asked her, I was like, what kind of coffee do you normally drink at home? And it was like Folgers, which is great.
Yep.
I mean, for her, it just did it for her. But like, she was probably expecting like a sweet flavor.
Yes.
And just kind of had this more
like going into it.
Yeah, and I think that also totally happens with every other realm of art. When you're like maybe going to go see a show and they maybe had it labeled that it kind of sounds like Americana or something. And then you go there and it's like, I've never heard a guy sing like this. And they kind of just, it's like they have blinders on, so they're not just able to experience the show. But the rest of the room might be having the best time ever because they're in it and they're present. And I think that comes with just life.
Yeah.
So I think that it's totally paralleled. And
because I think of like, well, what is art? Art can have an intention, but it's also like the recipient affects that. So it's not just like the intention is met or not.
Yeah.
It's like the recipient plays their part, and hopefully because it's like, well, what is art even for? It's like it's to shift yourself, shift your consciousness, like shift. You know, a lot of times it's internally, but it's like you see something in like you're expanding your consciousness. Yeah. It's almost like the hope to me for art. So then when you have visual at the same time as music.
Because I do think of art in that way in all senses, it is your choice to come and participate.
Yes.
And that's like showing up.
Yep.
And actively engaging.
Yep. And even
that's
just
with your conscious. You can sit there.
Like, what is this? You know, just to say like, I'm
like
here.
Questioning it.
I am here. What is this? And then like to take it in and then, you know, possibly be changed. It's like when you said opportunity, use the word opportunity. This statement is not like an end all, like coffee is art. It's almost like by the t-shirt message in that, like, you know, like the t-shirt movement of like, cause I don't know how I'm going to change the world, but I don't know if t-shirts will do it. It's like coffee is art it's like there's amazing things about coffee, but it's more like it's connecting to just like this is what it is, and this is an approach you can have.
Yeah.
Like you can really go down the rabbit trail, and it can kind of take you on its own journey.
Yeah.
And the train that Thinkwell is on is like, hey, come along. This is an experience, and do you want to have this kind of experience or this kind of experience, but you also affect it. But roasting plays a big part in it, but coffee has a whole story behind each one.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of like there's just a lot of different ways that it's like, hey, that's why we say coffee is art. It's simple, you know.
Yeah. Like it's a starting point.
Yes.
Of something.
Yeah. Yes. So it's like a nice descriptor, but it's maybe not like the prescription of what it is.
Yeah.
You know? So.
No, I just think where location, all the factors of it is really cool. Of like where we make art too.
Yeah.
And I think we're all affected by each other, and I don't know, finding people to enjoy coffee with, or like finding people to listen to music with, or people who you want to go watch them make their art. I think it's cool because I think it does feel like an invite. But I think also having the shirt is also like an invite for a question. Because I think anybody, even if you were to wear a t-shirt, you're just like, oh, where'd you get that? Where's that from? Does that, then it's like the conversation. So I think it's the perfect, like, it's like the beginning of the inquiry and the interest, I think.
Have you ever been tempted to just like, okay, I've come to the end of my process and I either really need to change it or I need to be done? Like it's like, okay, I gotta find a different form or a different.
I never feel like anything's done. Sometimes with the project, it's nice to call it done and just kind of let it
Not
be its
totally
thing.
complete or not over.
Yeah, like the process of, because usually when a song's done, that also means I'm gonna play it. And then when I'm playing it, it feels like sometimes like an unfinished, like how much further could I take it live?
What could you do?
Yeah, it's like another opportunity. So that makes it really fun because I don't try to play my songs exactly how they sound, or like it really.
Like you'll do variations.
Oh yeah. There's some that I recorded and I don't even know how the original sounds anymore because it's basically just merged into a whole nother. Yeah, a whole new entity.
Wow.
So I think that happens. I don't know if I'm answering your
almost
question.
Can't go back to the. It's like this was the original, but you're not holding yourself to that. Like you're.
But it's a timestamp, which is really cool because it was like I did make that then, and I was in this like it was. I try to. I don't know if it's a Midwest thing, but it feels like a lot of us try to put out really like honest, authentic content.
Yeah.
I think as artists, I think that's really special. Not saying other areas don't do that, but I think it's really common to feel like, oh, at least it's like a kind of, this is just like who I...
Personal.
Yeah. In that moment, it's really real. And I think it's better to think about that than sometimes like, it's not my best work. It's like, well, it's just where I was at then.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That also ties back with everything else because it's like, I think a lot of times we wait as artists being like, I'm not qualified to even enter into, like, I'm not a great singer or I'm not that great of a painter, but if it makes you feel really good and like you're enjoying the process, that's like really, really what matters the most. Like, are you enjoying creating it? Then just ride that because that's, I think, really important for people.
Something I've thought about when you like receive a cup of coffee from someone, it's like you show up, you're like feeling like you need coffee, and then you get that cup of coffee, you're just like, thank you. It's like, thank you. And I sometimes like being in that role because it's like, oh, I didn't think about this at all.
Yeah.
I just like
when you're serving it though.
Yeah. So when I'm serving it, I'm kind of like, oh, I could have.
Yeah, you're always like, I think I do this with music though. Like,
like. There's a little bit of the finish, I think the grind should be coarser.
But that's like, but the drink's done. Yeah. Like, but it's like, let me fix that.
And I've learned.
Oh no, you got an owie.
Oh.
No.
It's okay. Yeah. She bonked her head.
I bumped my head.
Yeah. You're saying it's time.
We should figure out a way to end this.
Yeah.
In a
way.
Have any
till next time.
We'll just keep drinking
the coffee
all day long.
Yes. Thanks for the conversation.
Thanks for the coffee. Thanks for the art.
You better get back. Yes.
Oh, days on.
Hey, he found his shoes.